Here's Rineman in the Morning, on demand from 102.1 and 105.3, The Shark.
It's been 25 years since my guest and the band he co-founded, Barenaked Ladies, were greeted by 80,000 New Englanders at an album release concert. He returns to Boston with the Stephen Page Trio Tuesday night at the City Winery. Welcome to Rineman in the Morning, Stephen Page. Mr. Page, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you, John?
I'm doing okay. It's so unusual to be talking to you on the radio because I normally see you on my computer doing concerts from your basement. For people who may not know, can you tell me a little bit about the Stephen Page Live from Home series?
Yeah, I started doing these live from home shows, like a lot of people did, in the spring of 2020. I started doing it at the end of April in 2020, and I had so many people coming out to these things that I thought, well, I can't just do one. I'll do another and another and another. I started doing them. I was doing them over Zoom, which was so much more satisfying than doing them over Facebook or Instagram or whatever else, because, you know, I could see the audience as well as them being able to see me, and they can see each other. And there's the whole chat thing on the side as well. So it kind of just developed this incredible community. So I still do them when I'm around on a Saturday. I'll do them, and so I think we've just did our 103rd episode last week.
It's so cool because it's the same thing. Like if my daughter's taking a nap or something, or it's rainy, it's so cool to be like, oh, it's 4:45. Oh, that's right. There's a Stephen Page concert I can just go to.
Well, you know, like a younger Stephen Page would have been, you know, I think would have insisted that everybody have all eyes on me all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like I really love the fact that people can put this on and engage with it however they want. They can, like, you know, be really present. They can be cooking dinner while they're watching it. They can have it on and off in the background. So I see people on their Zoom call, like in their Zoom window, bombing down the highway or sitting at the beach or at their kid's soccer game or whatever else.
Yeah, it's so cool. And you do a great thing. You always usually close with Brian Wilson, and you kind of go around to everybody on their different cameras, and you see everybody drumming along or playing their guitars or whatever. So it's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a lifesaver for me, for sure.
In addition to being an amazing singer and songwriter, you describe yourself as a big foodie. What are some of your favorite restaurants to visit when you're up here in New England?
Well, where you guys have, where you are there in New Hampshire, some of the best fried seafood anyone will ever have anywhere. You know, if we're driving anywhere along the coast, we always have to make a little detour to get some whatever, like an entire platter of amazing fried seafood.
Well, I got to give you a recommendation. There's a place called the Beach Plum. It's in Northampton, New Hampshire, and if you got to hit them up. But I also remember you guys singing. You did an ad lib at a show once, a place in Manchester, the Red Arrow Diner. Do you remember the Red Arrow Diner? And
I do.
They had some wieners and beans that you guys were very fond of. So
that's right. I think for us, that was always just the fact that you go anywhere. That's, you know, a food that you would only imagine having in your house.
Yep.
And it's like when mom is exasperated and that's all there is wieners and beans. And it's fun. As a kid, you're like, that's a great food, but it's just, you never expect to see it in a restaurant. I remember one time with Barenaked Ladies, we were rehearsing. We had a rehearsal space in Toronto. And we decided we wanted wieners and beans for lunch. And so our crew went out and ordered, we got like a giant steam tray, like a giant tray, sheet pan thing full of wieners and beans. And maybe I've never laughed that hard in my life and that long. So it's still, the idea of wieners and beans brings me such great joy.
It's just fun to say, too. Like, It's just, anything like that.
The guitar solo in the middle of 1 week, the end of it, every time when I was in the band, I would go up to Kevin Hearn as he's playing the guitar solo, and I'd sing, "Oh, baby, I love you like wieners and beans." That was like right before the Chickadee China comes in.
Dude,
so when I think of wieners and beans, that's what I think of.
Dude, that was something that you just reminded me I needed to ask you, and now I know the answer. I'd always notice you guys say something to each other. I go, I wonder what that is. But that's what it is, the wieners and beans.
I love you like wieners and beans.
Did you do that during the Junos performance when you guys got back?
I sure did.
Oh, my gosh. Did you go nuts? It was just so funny.
I think he just smiled.
Yeah, well, for Kevin, that's a standing ovation. So
yeah,
it's pretty good. Well, speaking of those guys, we're coming up on a big anniversary. 25 years ago, Barenaked Ladies released Stunt, and you gave a massive historic release concert in downtown Boston. Is it true you originally planned to just sign like a few CDs at like a comic store?
Yeah, so it was supposed to be. It was run by Newbury Comics, and that was, in those days, in-store performances and signings were kind of de rigueur when you released a record. You go and set up, as in release week, you'd go to different record shops around the country, and you'd play a few songs, and then you'd sit behind a table and sign autographs. And, a good one would have several hundred people would come and line up, and it could be, you could be signing for an hour or something afterwards. And that's what initially it was supposed to be. But we realized, we had become fairly big in the Boston area, and we thought, well, I guess it was proposed to us, why don't you do it outdoors? It'll still be sponsored by Newbury Comics, but we'll do it outdoors at City Hall Plaza. But we hadn't understood what the scope of that was going to be. Like we did, I guess it was the day the album came out, and we did, I think, the Today Show in New York City in the morning, and then got on the tour bus and drove up to Boston. And as we drove up, the traffic was, insane, as it often is, but it was like we just couldn't even get there. And we're saying, what is holding up the traffic here? And they said, you are. And when we got there, there were like, I don't know, 65,000 people or something waiting to see us. And we had our little acoustic in-store set up with a little tiny PA, expecting maybe a couple thousand people would show up. And it was, thousands upon thousands, people up in the parking structure and on the rooftops and in every window. And we stayed till late that night, signed every last autograph that was there. I've never signed for that long.
I have the exact number. 80,000 people came to that concert.
That is incredible.
Isn't that just insane? For perspective, at LaGuardia Airport in 1964, 5,000 people showed up to see the Beatles. So you know what that means, Steve? You guys are officially better than the Beatles, I think is what
we
that
are.
is.
We are. See, but that's the thing. Then the Beatles will now stage Barenaked Ladies album burning, ceremonial album burnings, because we've said we're bigger than the Beatles.
Yeah, don't be my Yoko Ono. Yeah, no. Well, talk me through that though, because what is that like when you're in a bus and you're trying to break through in the States still? You've had, I think, The Old Apartment was your first big hit here. What is your guttural feeling when you go, oh my God, we thought this was going to be a couple thousand? It's 80,000 people.
I know it is like it's shocking and exciting, and I was so great. Like you look back and you're grateful to have people around you, your bandmates and your crew and your record company people who are like on board for it. Everybody is just as kind of proud of the moment, and then you want to make it as good and as memorable as possible for all those people who showed up. That's kind of for me, that was always like the first thing in my mind is, God, I hope this is like enough for them, because they've all come out here, and you want people to feel like they've not wasted their time and that they've actually been part of something special. But I think we were always good at showing the audience how grateful we were, and are, and so you just kind of, and how absurd the whole thing was. Like we never wanted to take it for granted. I think sometimes I think I didn't spend enough time enjoying being in the moment, enjoying it, because I was looking at the next thing down the road.
Sure.
But really, when I look back now, I think we did a pretty good job of enjoying those moments and seeing how special they were, thankfully.
You're almost like a Boston band. It's like, but the New England as a region took you guys on, but, New England's sort of this cynical, grouchy area. Why do you think that we fell in love with five guys who sing about craft dinner,
It's a funny thing, I felt like when we first started to take off in Boston, I don't think we fully understood the nature of the area. I think we understood the grit and kind of slightly, like you said, grouchy quality, but also we were, when we first started playing there, we were kids in our young 20s. And of course, with all the colleges around, there's just a million places to play. I think what was shocking was when it went beyond it, because college kids leave, when they're done, they're out of there quite often. And the fact that we kind of translated to actual New Englanders was like, that was the big shift for us, kind of in the mid 90s. And that was like when we started to connect with the audience and felt like we had in-jokes with them.
Oh, sure.
That was the thing, I think, was like people knew they could come back and see a different show than what they'd seen before, and that they could kind of be in on the joke. And I think that was one thing we were always conscious of in the band, was that there were lots of in-jokes.
Oh, yeah.
But the difference between like an in-joke that is like within the band or within those the most in the know is that it becomes an elitist thing. And for us, it was always like everybody is welcome to be part of this, whether it's something completely absurd or one memory of, whatever, pointing at some guy in the audience or whatever else, bringing somebody on stage, for example. These things can be kind of running gags that we can have with the audience. It's not at their expense, but it's with them. And I think that really connected with people in the Boston area.
For sure. I mean, to this day, if you just say Uncle Elwin or Bird Poop at a Barenaked Ladies concert or a Stephen Page concert, everyone right away goes, I know what that is. But there's a song on Stunt called When You Dream. It's about all the things your then infant son, I believe, could dream while he's sleeping. But now, when I watch these concerts, your son pops up from time to time and performs with you. Does that ever stop being surreal as a father that, oh my gosh, he's playing with me now?
It's barely surreal. It's just like amazing. I just have to stop myself from weeping all the time. I love it. Like I have my kids will come and play with me whenever they can. I think my middle kid Ben is going to come and play with me at my next live from home show on the whatever that is, the 13th. Yeah. And it's just like, for me, it's just the greatest thing. I think Ben was actually out selling merch for me on my last tour up in Canada, and then came out on stage and played piano for us for a bunch of songs. It was like, what a blast. It's like, I never insisted that we have a family band. I didn't want to kind of create that atmosphere of expectation. So when they just say they want to do it, the fact that I even know the words to some of the songs blows my mind. Totally. And they're just such amazing. I learned so much from them as musicians. They're such, brilliant and creative people.
Yeah.
And I know Dad going back and asking for tips.
And I got to tell you, I have a 6-year-old daughter, Sadie, and she watched your holiday concert last December. That was very special for her. And I said, there's Steve right there. I think you took a request for us. And it's so funny because, she came along just a few years ago, so she knows sort of the modern BNL sort of stuff, but her favorite song, Brian Wilson. That's the first one she ever always wants to hear. So, but your new album is Excelsior. And so say some people are just skimming through and they like to go for the singles. What are some cool songs people should check out first from Excelsior?
Well, I think if you want to go for what sounds like the most classic old school Stephen Page style, then I think you got to jump right into the golden age of Doubling Down, which is kind of a up-tempo pop number that laments how cruel we can be to each other online, basically. But then the stuff I'm really extra proud of is, there's a kind of a suite of songs. The first 7 songs, it's as I call it, it's a grower, not a shower. It's the kind of thing where you listen to the first time through and you go, this is a little mellow. Sure. It's really kind of a headphones record. Like I tried to make something that is the kind of record I like to listen to get really kind of immersed in. And, it could be some kind of heavy or trippy topics about things like grief and exploring the universe and these kinds of, like, they're not the traditional Stephen Page kinds of topics, but I like really pushing myself to do that. So if you want to start from the top, it really takes you on a journey, almost like imagine it's a little musical unto itself, and then the last 4 songs are kind of the thank you for sticking through this. Here's some traditional pop structure stuff.
Your solo stuff's been amazing, and you've had so many great songs. A couple of them that people can just check out because we're a songs society right now, as it were. But Indecision, The Work at Hand, I love that one. Isolation, you did Isolation. Oh, yeah. I thought that was the best song during the pandemic, where it was just brilliant Stephen Page, with just all the lyrics were topical and smart, and it got wonderful feedback. Do you ever hear from any of the guys from BNL? Do they ever send you a quick text or an email, say, hey, man, we caught your song and good stuff? Or is it kind of just like, hey, we go stay in our lanes right now?
It's been like more in the stay in your lanes way for the most part. Mm-hmm. But like Kevin's the best at it. Kevin will actually, like, usually when I put a new record out, he'll say, you know, congratulations on the new record.
Yeah.
He'll send me a text. But Ed, actually, with the last couple albums, has sent me, like, you know, a nice little compliment or whatever else. And when I did the song, the Canada Loves You Back song for Ryan Reynolds, he sent me a text about that. Always, you know, very, very complimentary, and that's a nice thing. When there's enough water under the bridge that we can do that is awesome.
Well, unless Ed just wants to meet Ryan Reynolds. I mean, let's be honest, that could also be.
I'm sure he's met him. I know he's met him before.
Well, let me ask you the other way. When they put out new stuff, do you ever give it a listen? Do you ever say, see what these guys are up to?
I got to admit, I don't really that much. I mean, some of the stuff I just hear because it's on the radio or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it was tough leaving that situation. So for a long time, it was like I didn't want to hear it. It hurt. It kind of felt like, you know, I don't know, watching your ex with their new boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
But and also because that first single, Without Me, whether or not it was, felt like it was kind of at me.
Yeah.
So when you're already a paranoid person, it wasn't a great experience.
You've described it as a divorce, and as a big fan, you know, my parents were together. They stayed together throughout their whole marriage, 40-something years, but that was like my one sort of musical child of divorce thing, because it did. The first couple albums from both of you in different ways, I was kind of like, stop fighting, guys. That's kind of like, come on, man, everyone can like get along. So that's so nice to hear.
Well, you know, because I went through an actual divorce.
Yeah, me too.
Around the same time, it was like I had 2 divorces in as many years. And it also helped me remember, like, raised 3 amazing kids with my ex, and I have a lot of respect for her, and I'm thankful for what we were able to do together. I have we're never going to get back together.
Yes.
And we've both moved on into things that we're probably much happier doing, and we're still proud of and connected to our kids. And I feel exactly the same way with BNL.
Gotcha. Yeah. And, you know, I got to say that you've been an inspiration to me on a personal note, because I left a TV job that I was at for 9 years, and then shortly thereafter, same thing, went through a divorce. And so I've taken your lead in a lot of areas, and you're a great advocate for mental health awareness. And it seems like more and more, sadly, though, even though we're supposedly, quote, done with this pandemic, people are struggling more than ever, it seems. So let me just ask you, it's maybe a tough question, but what's just one thing people can do when they wake up so that getting out of bed in the morning is just a little bit easier?
That's a really good question, because, you know, you're right. Like, I think some of the long-term effects are still showing themselves. And, like, for me, as a kind of a mental health advocate,
mm-hmm.
I find it really hard to take care of myself, because even though I've never said, hey, I'm fixed, people kind of expect you, once you stand up and say, here's here's my story, they kind of expect you to stay fixed. No. And there's not a lot of room for a bad patch. Mm-hmm. And so I've decided to, you know, take care of myself, put my money where my mouth is. I'm back seeing a therapist, which is something I haven't done in quite some time. And it's like, it just restructures how you live your life and how you see yourself. And for me, one of the things is knowing that I'm taking care of myself gets me out of bed. But sometimes you need medication to get you out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, talk to your doctor, talk to, you know, not just Dr. Google.
Yes.
Although they can be helpful too. But they often send me into spiral. But, you know, talk to your doctor. Sometimes, for me, I'm not on medication right now, but I'm on and off, like, in different times, because if I can't get out of bed, sometimes you need that nudge. But the other thing for me, just on a more simple level, don't touch your phone till you're out of bed.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's pretty easy to reach over and grab your phone before you get out of bed, and that can just either, like, delay your day start or send you into a dark spiral.
You're playing the City Winery in Boston on Tuesday evening, and what can fans expect to hear when they go?
Well, it's Stephen Page Trio, so it's myself and Craig Northey from the band The Odds on guitar, and Kevin Fox on cello, and we will do a full career survey. So I always think of these shows as like catching up with old friends. So we do some of the new stuff to show you where I'm at, and it still has kind of that. There's lots of goofing around and occasionally made up songs on stage and all that kind of nonsense, and kind of go through the whole solo catalog, as well as, I would say, the show's probably about half old BNL songs, hits and deep cuts.
One last question, and this is another weird hypothetical, but, you guys have talked about how big Stunt was, and let's just, go to a different universe. Let's play sci-fi a little bit. What do you think would have happened in an alternate universe? Say 1 week didn't take off the way it did. Like, do you ever think about that, or do you just say, you know what, that's another one of those things I'm going to not let myself worry about?
Well, you know what? I had never considered the band not existing or not existing with me in it. Like until I wasn't in the band anymore, I couldn't picture the band, and I couldn't picture my life without the band. And that was really hard on me. It took a lot to kind of like rebuild my own self-image. When Andy Cregan left our band in 1995 after our second album, like I couldn't imagine the band without him. And then we had our biggest success and a much longer period of time without him. Like things do change, and they tend to change for the better, even if it's not the way it was when you first encountered it. I suspect we would have kept going. Because we had a fan base of people who were really into the band, and we were playing places that were a couple thousand people everywhere. We probably would have kept on that circuit, I think, for quite some time. I think once our kids were older and as the music business changed, I don't know if we could have afforded to continue to do it anymore. But I really don't know.
My guest today is the drummer for one of my favorite bands of all time. They'll be at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion on July 8th with their Last Summer on Earth tour. Please welcome to Rineman in the Morning from Barenaked Ladies, Tyler Stewart. Tyler, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Thank you very much for having me on this morning.
Yeah, I'm so happy. And before we talk music, though, I just have to say, man, what's going on with those Florida Panthers, huh? First they beat up on our Bruins. Now they're picking on your Maple Leafs. Are we going to have a team in Florida with the Stanley Cup? That's not right.
Man, I'm telling you, I think it's some conspiracy on behalf of the NHL that they want these Sun Belt teams to thrive, because the refs, first of all, have put their whistles away. So the Panthers are concussing our guys, throwing them to the ice, interfering, slashing, hacking, everything, and not getting called for it. And, it's a typical, people always say typical Leafs fan, always complain about the refs, but it is terrible how there's actually, two rule books. One playoff rule book where they don't call Jack S word. Mm-hmm. They don't call anything. And, the regular season where it's penalties galore. I will give the Panthers credit for having a opportunistic system. You make one mistake and it ends up in the back of your net.
Sure.
But I'll tell you that, if they manage to pull off 4 straight against us after eliminating the, record-setting all-time Bruins team, then, I guess they have to be taken pretty seriously.
Yeah, hats off. Barenaked Ladies, you're bringing your 7th Last Summer on Earth tour to the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion this July. I saw a video you made on Instagram. You called it not just the best venue, you called it the only venue. Why do you love Guilford, New Hampshire so much?
Well, that's a good question. Now, first of all, it's in a nice location on, lakeside.
Yep.
And, that's pretty cool. But honestly, they pull out all the stops there. They have the best catering in America. Backstage, they feed you like you're a king. They put a pool in. There's a mini golf course.
Oh.
There's all kinds of bicycles to ride. There's a fire pit. There's basketball courts. And it's the best day ever before the show. Usually there's a massage therapist there. It's like you are so relaxed and ready to rock that the shows tend to be rather joyous occasions. So we love the pavilion, man. We love it.
They got to be careful, man, because sooner or later there's going to be a band that just does like 15 minutes to just go hang out backstage the rest of the time. We're going to do 2 songs and then go ride some bikes around out back.
Exactly. Go sit by the pool with a couple of martinis or something.
Yeah,
totally.
We love you here in New England. We're coming up on a big anniversary. 25 years ago, you guys released Stunt, and 80,000 people showed up to greet you. 80,000 people showed up to greet you at City Hall Plaza in Boston on release day. I mean, when did you first realize this album release party was going to be like an epic, historic event here in New England?
Oh my God! Like that day, July back in 1998, that was absolutely incredible because we had been in New York that morning doing Carson Daly, the Daily Show, or whatever, not the Daily Show, but Carson Daly on Total Request Live on MTV. Remember MTV, kids? They used to show music videos.
They almost had to the other night because of the writer's strike. They almost said, "Oh my God, we're going to have to play music instead of a TV show."
Yeah. Wow, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
But we were rolling in that morning from New York City, and it was absolutely incredible. Like there's this traffic jam.
Mm-hmm.
I had taken a nap on the bus, and then I got up. It's like, oh, there must be like a Red Sox game or something going on down here, or there must be, some sort of construction. Maybe that was the days of the Big Dig. Maybe we thought we were being diverted somewhere or something. But no, turns out the traffic, lo and behold, was for us. People coming to City Hall to see our little band. Now, what started as an in-store at Newbury Comics moved to outside Newbury Comics to they're going to erect a stage maybe in Boston Common to us, the mayor saying, "Oh, you can play at City Hall," and friggin' 80,000 people show up. I have a picture of that mounted in my office. There's people in the parking garages behind City Hall Plaza. There's people in trees.
Yeah,
it was insane, man. It was one of the greatest days of my life. It was really, really cool.
Well, I mean, you guys had been like touring going around for like a decade. You made it big up in Canada. You'd been trying to break in here. Conan O'Brien, another New England guy, had you on his show a bunch of times. And just what did it feel like when you finally look out and it's Barenaked Mania? Like you're like, oh my God, we're here. Did it hit you right then, or was it like we have a show to play right now?
Well, and not only that, we were like playing kind of in a small acoustic setup.
Yeah.
We didn't have our full gear. We're all wearing shorts and just like regular guy clothes.
Sure.
It was nuts. It was crazy. And then we ended up signing autographs till it got dark. I think the gig was like somewhere around noon or 1, and we ended up staying till late into the evening signing autographs at a table. And I couldn't really explain it. It was just so exciting. Boston has always been, and New England in general, has always been like bare naked country.
Yeah.
We've always done well in the surrounding area, and we couldn't be more grateful and thankful to the fine people of New England for really pushing us over the top.
Well, let me ask you about that, because New England, globally, I should say, like kind of has a reputation, for being a little grumpy, a little crusty. Why do you think we fell in love with the excitement and the fun of Barenaked Ladies?
I think, it had something to do with our approachability, perhaps. We seem like regular guys that you might want to hang out with. And that was the way it was on stage. It wasn't like we were performing down to the audience, like, hey, look at these gods up here. It was more like, hey, we're all hanging out together, happen to be playing music, singing about ridiculous things, and having a great time together. So I think there was that appeal, Plus, I think at that time, the sheer number of colleges and universities in Boston and in New England in general, I think we just hit the demographic perfectly. And, we had young people totally into the band. And the great thing is a lot of them have stuck with us over the years. So they're bringing their kids now to the show.
That's who I am.
And,
I have to just say on a personal note, it was so great rediscovering you guys because, I was one of those stubborn, hurt feeling people, back, 2009, whatever, on both sides. I just said, this just hurts too much. I just can't. And then I have a 6-year-old. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and she listened first to your children's album, and then she got into Detour de Force, and that's like her favorite album of all this. That and Thriller are her two favorite albums. And she loves you guys. And when I took her last summer to see you guys, it became the Sadie dance part. People were looking at her because she knew all the words to Roll Out and Good Life and everything like that. And that's when I got it, where I was like, oh, like I get to fall in love with these guys again through a different set of eyes, which I think is so cool. And I thought that album, one of the best you guys have ever made. It was just perfect. So well done.
Hey, that's a great story, man. I love. I'm going to tell the guys that one. I think that's really cool because, I mean, obviously we pride ourselves on, doing a good live show, and ultimately, we want people to come out to the show, have a great time, and know that their, hard-earned dollars are spent on a quality entertainment experience. So we're very happy to have, bring families together and bridge the gap. And I'm also glad that you gave us another chance. It's been a long time. We've been a four-piece for, 12 years now.
Yeah.
13 years.
Yeah.
And we've put out we've put out 6 albums in that time. But I understand, people have a vision of Barenaked Ladies as the 5-piece from the original, the OG Ladies.
Sure.
But at the same time, the guys who are still here, there's more room for each of us on stage, and we all get a chance to shine a lot more. So the show, I think, is still incredibly, if not more, satisfying for people.
Oh, totally. And by the way, like I got to say, last year, I gave it some time away, and when I saw last year, I said, "Oh, they got it." I said, "This is a Barenaked Ladies show." Like it was start to finish, funny, fun, so much energy. People go, they hear 1 week, they hear The Old Apartment, $1 Million, Pinch Me, but a cool thing you guys do at the end of every show, you do a medley of songs, and then it ends with The Tyler Show. Can you give us some spoilers? What can we expect to hear in The Tyler Show this summer?
Well, it's funny that it's called The Tyler Show. I mean, you must have seen a set list of ours because that's what the guys started printing that at the end. You know what's funny about that is it got its name. When I come out from behind the drum kit and kind of surprise some people with my rather rock and roll vocals. We did a tour with the Violent Femmes, and we love those guys. And the bass player Brian Ritchie, his wife Veruni, actually coined the name The Tyler Show. He said even when we're even when the band was done and they were chilling backstage or having dinner or whatever, she said, I always try to make it out front for The Tyler Show. And the guys laughed, right? And then it started to be listed on the set list as The Tyler Show. Hilarious.
Let me just give you one suggestion for The Tyler Show. A song I heard
absolutely.
Somebody's Watching Me, Rockwell. I heard that and I said, man, that is such a Tyler song. I said, you could sell the hell out of that. Anything to get you closer to a moonwalk on stage. But the whole narrative of that, I was like, oh, Tyler can nail this one. The last Summer on Earth.
That's funny.
The last Summer on Earth tour always has such great artists. Who's joining you this year?
What is the actual date of the Boston show?
Well, we have your New Hampshire on the 8th of July, and then I think you're in Boston on the 9th of July.
Yeah, that's right. So we're Bank of New Hampshire, July 8th. I'm going to say that on that leg of the tour, we've got Five for Fighting and Delamitri.
That sounds about right.
And so which is great because we've toured with both of those bands before back in the day. That's going to be a lot of hit songs that you heard on the radio in the 90s.
Yep.
You heard on the radio in the 2000s, and you're hearing on the radio still today. And so that's awesome when the crowd can come and get a whole evening full of familiar music and a great show. So we're looking forward to this summer.
Now, I have 2 questions left because I know you have to go. One's kind of a tricky question, but I'll get beat up by my friends from college if I don't ask it. The other one's a nice question. I'll get beat up by my daughter if I don't ask it. You have these great support acts every year. You go out, you do the last Summer on Earth tour. And a couple weeks back, because he was in the area, a guy Steve Page, called into the show. And he had really nice things to say. He had nice things to say about all of you, and I was really delighted to hear that he and Ed have been talking. I mean, that made my heart warm. Is there a world that somewhere down the road, one of the acts on the last Summer on Earth tour could be Stephen Page, and then you do 3 or 4 songs to kind of shut up the romantics that can't get over the past,
I would say that the chances of that are pretty slim. But on the other hand, never say never.
Yeah.
It's great. We're very happy for Steven and the fact that he's got his own career going. He continues to make music. It's all great.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think ultimately, both parties are where we should be. We're kind of, it's like the divorce, where like both people are happier afterwards. And, that's kind of the situation we're in. And we obviously, it's been a lot of years now. It's been like 13 years.
Well, so, I looked at it to a friend who is still kind of, and I just looked at it and they said, oh, they're both making such great music. And I said, yeah, but things had to happen to make that great music. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, it didn't come out of thin air, and it's like, who knows? So, then the last question, and the easy one, this comes from Sadie, age 6, whose first concert was seeing you guys in Guilford last summer, whose next concert is seeing you guys in Guilford this summer. Sadie wants to know, and I'm quoting her, can I be friends with Barenaked Ladies? Can Sadie tell people she's friends with Barenaked Ladies, Tyler?
I say absolutely. Both the band and, when she's a little older, the real one.
Okay, fair enough. Tyler, this is such an honor. Thank you so much, my friend. And this will air. I'll air a couple segments tomorrow, and I'll get them over to Alan. And then there's going to be a full on-demand episode. I'll get that to you guys as well. And favorite drummer of all time. And this has just been such a joy. And it's so happy you called in.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks so much for having me on. And we look forward to seeing you at the pavilion. I'll have my suntan going.
Yeah.
And my belly will be full of delicious food. It's going to be great.
Love it. Thanks, Tyler. You have a good day.
Cheers, man.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.